Welcome back to the Soul Sisters podcast. We missed you and we're happy to be here. Today, we are going to talk about some of the things that we've learned over this past summer because we've been through a lot of grief and a lot of mental health obstacles and just a lot of shit this summer. So that's what we're going to dive into. But first, as always, we are going to take our VFB, our breath for baths. So get comfortable, settle in, drop your shoulders down, take your tongue off the top of the roof of your mouth, let it drop, and let's inhale and exhale. Just recenter. Get ready to chat. Talk about some of the lessons we've learned, some of the things we're still learning. Hi, Liz.
I am. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. How are you today?
Appreciative of mindfulness practices and a lot calmer after that. So thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Let's dive into our topic for today, which is what we've learned over the last couple of months. So as our listeners know, we've been kind of absent on Instagram. We haven't been recording quite as much just because we've been going through it. I lost a pet. Alyssa lost a pet. We both have had mental health challenges present themselves and really just took some time for ourselves, which is hard to do when you feel like you have responsibilities in the community to take care of. So throughout these past couple of months, Liz, what's tell me, I know you've learned a lot, but like start me off. What's one thing that you've
I'm constantly reminded I'm not invincible. I am vulnerable to all of the woes of the world, just like everyone else. Even if I build muscles around being resilient and being better at handling the negativity, it will still come no matter what. I learned grief's a bitch. I learned that feeling of like, oh man, everything was so good before, and now suddenly it feels like it's not. Like that weird, like polar opposite kind of feeling almost. Like, oh, I had two really cute, playful cats that would greet me every morning and I'm in great health. And then like almost overnight, it's like, oh, I cut my hand, I lost my cat, I can't do physical activity. So it just like, yeah, it's sometimes life comes at you fast, right?
when it rains, it pours. You were talking about being vulnerable, which I know from knowing you for over 20 years is really hard for you. So tell me, like, what are some of the ways that you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable and really like exercising that muscle in particular, because it's not an easy one for most people, but especially for you to exercise.
Yeah. I'm learning there's a lot of power in the pause of like understanding how I'm feeling, in the pause of like reflecting on how I'm feeling. And also maybe more so is like how to communicate how I'm feeling to others, especially if maybe I'm not at peak performance at this time and I need to maybe say something, advocate for myself, communicate maybe different needs, or just like that I'm going through it. And that's really uncomfortable, especially in the workplace. I think I'm pretty good at being vulnerable to the homies, but in the workplace is a whole different, skill really. So I think just like communicating and continuing on in my job, like we don't get, to take off because we lose an animal, which is stupid. But yeah, so what about you?
Petition for PTO time for animal grief, because I believe the grief that we've gone through this summer is possibly harder than any human I've ever grieved thus far in my life. I don't know. I'm sure there's more to come, unfortunately, because we all leave Earth one day. But yeah, it's really, really difficult. I just want to say that I'm really proud of you, because you are, I mean, to an extent, you are being good. You're being good. Well done.
Yeah,
no problem. But you are good at being vulnerable with your friends and people that you love, but only to an extent, right? Like it is like when something happens, you don't necessarily quote unquote burden someone with it right away. You might tell us a week or a few days or months later when we see you, but it's not necessarily something that like immediately communicate. So I'm really proud of you because that's really hard to do. What do you think helped kind of shift you in that direction? Because I know that I personally have felt some change in that direction as well. And it's really hard to go from the mindset of like, I'm a burden, I don't need other people to take care of me, to actually, you know what, it's okay to lean on people sometimes.
That's a great question. And if you're hearing this, like ask yourself that question. Because what a question it is. I feel like I remember in my life that feeling of thinking I was a burden and expressing myself. And I think just over time, me telling someone else that they are not has helped me to truly believe if I'm going to tell someone else that I, in my heart and soul, don't feel that they're a burden in any way, then why shouldn't I extend that courtesy to myself? So I think sometimes I get a lot more out of like offering therapy to people than I realize until like I'm in a moment where I don't feel as uncomfortable expressing myself because I've told so many other people that they should do that too. So I think that feeling of being a burden is more now of like, okay, you know who your friends are. You've identified the people that you can be a burden to, if we're gonna say that, and you can still talk to them anyways. Sure, I'm not gonna tell the person at the baby shower that I'm struggling, but I am gonna like pick and choose and disclose appropriately.
Yeah, understandable. Do you feel at all? So my therapist actually said something to me a couple weeks back that really resonated with me, and I wonder if it resonates with you as well, where it's like we hold ourselves to different standards than we hold our friends. So everything that I've gone through with mental health, all of the scary, intrusive thoughts that I've had, you know, the things that I've had to do the work to get through, and not even get through, but just to feel. Um, she said, why? She said, if your best friend was going through this, would you judge them? And I said, of course not. I would be there for them every single way, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, then why is it different for yourself? And that really, it really sat with me because I think about the things that like I'm really hard on myself about, or considering the fact that like maybe we don't tell our friends things right away because we don't want to be a quote unquote burden, or we don't want to bother them, or they have their own things that they're dealing with, so they don't need ours piled on top. And it's like, well, if I reversed it and I thought about, you know, the way that I treat my friends, if that's how I treat myself, what would that look like? Like it's very different, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like be your own friend. I like the idea of like you're not an exception to this golden rule. Like you want to treat other people the way you want to be treated. Like you're not an exception to that rule, and you can treat yourself like shit. Like that's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. She even made the comparison where for anyone who doesn't know, I started taking Prozac, which I really did not want to do. And I've been avoiding any type of anxiety medication for a very long time because I'm just not comfortable taking medication in general. And she made a very good point where she said, I know you don't want to have children, but let's pretend. If you were pregnant and going to give birth, would you take it the epidural? And I was like, yeah, 100%, like in a heartbeat, uninterested in feeling that kind of pain. And then she paused and looked at me and she said, so why is this different? And I was like, that is a great question. She said, when you have the flu, you have the flu. You take, you know, whatever you need to take, or if you have an infection, you take an antibiotic, you don't question it. So why is this any different? And I had to really think about that. And it's because like if I have plenty of friends who take SSRIs and I don't judge them or care, and I'm happy that it works for them. And I had to think about that. And it's like, because I have a different set of standards for myself than I hold for other people, and those standards aren't necessarily rational, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about like the history of medicine, right? Like we first were giving medicine because people were like dying, like we just needed to figure it out. And now I think a lot of the times when we go to like our medical doctor, you get prescribed a med, you're on that medication until you die. And it might like help you die differently, but you might experience other side effects. And so I think that like when, you know, maybe like my mom and my grandma's generation, when they go into the doctor and are told like you're getting prescribed this, there's not like an end in sight. And I think that that is an issue. Maybe they only take some of those meds for a certain amount of time, but the doctors don't really tell them that all the time. It's like, just take this and that's it. And so I think that one wonderful difference of like, and I totally agree with what your therapist says. And I love that she does like these hypothetical pretending scenarios to help you to like really process what that feels like. But yeah, I just think that meds can be like, have this until you get better, or like have this until your sickness is over, your fever is gone. So I really love that idea of like, yeah, Prozac is great. I don't think the expectation is that you're on it forever until the end of time. The end.
No, it's not. And I think pairing that with, you know, my therapist and the intensive group I've done with OCD make a good point where it's like, okay, well, a lot of people will say, take this pill, you'll feel better. And then when they stop taking it, they don't feel better because they didn't do the work to actually heal. They just took a pill to make it go away. And it's the same thing as suppressing, you know, any other feelings that you may be having. So I've really learned a lot this summer about feeling my feelings, because I mean, anyone who has known me even at any point in my life, honestly, like especially in middle school and high school, would know that like I'm very much identified as the angry girl. Like I was mean, and I was harsh, and I'm still a little bit mean and harsh. That's just kind of in me. But also a lot of it is I really didn't understand how to process fear, how to process sadness, how to process guilt, shame, anything like that. So I would just get angry. And I wouldn't let myself feel anything else because I didn't have time in my head. I didn't have time to feel anything else. I wasn't going to let anyone pull anything over on me. And it was like a defense mechanism. So I think a huge thing that I've learned this summer is really about feeling my feelings and not using something else in place of that. Like, yes, I take Prozac, but also I do the work so that I understand when I'm done taking the Prozac that I have the tools that I need to be able to be successful and actually functioning in my own life, you know? And yet, you know, anger was a tool for me, but it can't be the only thing that I feel all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're an incredible example of like the Prozac is doing its work, so you're able to do all of this work and gain these skills. So, you know, it still may be hard at times, but to have more understanding, knowledge, information on how to like deal with the feelings that you're now able to deal with and bring to the forefront, I think is just a great example of like, this is what, you know, this looks like. Like, this is what a trauma process to, like you often say, like there's no end in it, but it's like this is we're seeing the process in real time of like dealing with your shit. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah. Well, and I think I just had very preconceived notions of what I thought healing was, what I thought mental health looked like. I definitely didn't recognize, like, after learning more about OCD, I know a lot of people think it's just like flicking the light switch off and on or turning the doorknob or contamination, but it's really truly a lot more than that, more than people would ever think. And same for myself. Until I really learned what OCD was, I now recognize it that I've had it my whole life. I can't really remember when I was younger, but I I've always been someone who is like like almost make a joke about it. Like I'm very type A. I like to be in control. I like to know what's coming. I can be spontaneous, like on my own, on my own regard. Um, and I recognize that like those are all forms of OCD, like different themes. Um, and granted, I just recently had like a very large meltdown where it was full swing. But there've been little things like throughout my entire life that I never recognized as OCD because I didn't know that's what it was. So I definitely learned that this summer as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and have been like building up your library of like, what is this and what are all the different thorns and ways that it could affect me, just so I'm not like blindsided as much. And you still probably will be at times, but to just like, build some fortitude and like you're like, yeah, it's just, I'm really proud of you. I know it hasn't been easy by any means, but it's important to express it and talk about it. I'm glad you
Thanks.
are willing to do so in such a way.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I really I encourage anyone who is going through any type of mental health struggle. It doesn't just have to be OCD. It can be anything. I encourage you to um, find find what works for you. Find what you can afford and find what works for you because um, I really think we as society, like we're always looking for the next best thing and we're never truly present anymore, especially because of social media and the internet. Um, and something that I'm really finding is like there's no one size fits all cure to things like this. And you have to have a little bit of grace with yourself and allow yourself to decompress from what is perfect or what you think life is supposed to be. And just like actually allow yourself to feel. And I think that's like the hardest part of it, at least in my perspective. Like we don't want to feel our feelings, so we binge watch 4 episodes of a show. We don't want to feel our feelings, so we scroll on TikTok for, you know, 3 hours. And to most people, it just seems like second nature um, and normal because that's what everybody does. But it's really escapism. And I've noticed I I'm not off social media completely, but like our Instagram is lesser right now. I don't scroll on TikTok anymore, things like that. And I'm definitely more present and more aware of how I'm actually feeling because I don't have anything to distract my mind.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such an interesting reflection of like your whole life kind of, and it made me think, um so lovely that we're friends, first of all. But I almost identify as like the opposite of like staying like of just anger.
Yeah.
One of the things I like kind of prepared to say was like to not stay mad. I
Mm.
had some like negativity after because people suck. But like the concept of I would just be overtaken by my emotions, and there'd be so many of them all at once, and they were just coming out of me, and I'd be crying and I'd be happy. And like one day could be start off terrible, like fighting with my parents, late for school, and then like I see a friend and I'm just like so stoked, and then like I get overwhelmed with all these feelings, and that's kind of like where I think I came from, that place as a kid. And so as an adult, like that didn't really serve me too much either, to just like fully feel all my feelings. Like there has to be some kind of middle ground, right?
Yeah.
Like a wise path of like maybe pushing the feelings away and like allowing space for them. And I guess to my side of it is like allowing space and then like not spending too much time there at one time, because there have been some things that upset me in like various degrees, and I have to like really be mad about them and then like let that go for a little while, because I'm still upset about the things, and
Mhm.
some of these things are completely out of my control. So yeah, finding ways that I can not stay mad and like maybe come back to it and still be mad, or like write about it, get it out there. But that's been, I think, a huge thing for me this summer as well that I'm putting into play a little bit.
But I think you make a great point in the sense of like, you can feel your emotion and not have it overtake your entire day, which is all like, I've never experienced that before. Like if I wake up in a shitty mood previously, the whole day is going to be shit. Like we're not going to have a good, you know, or if something bad happens, like or something inconvenient happens, like it would really overtake my entire day. And like, you make a good point where you can feel multiple things in one day and it doesn't have to overtake your entire day. You can, just using it as an example, because you already said it, you can have a fight with your parents in the morning, know that you still love them, have it really cut deep and hurt, and go to a football game with your friends and have a good time, and recognize that like you're not necessarily pushing away the feeling, but the feeling doesn't have to dictate the rest of your day, because when you come home there's still space to experience it. It's still something you have to deal with. It's not necessarily something that you're like, okay, well, I'm going to the football game and I'm never going to feel this again, which is what I would do, right? Or the opposite, where it's like, I can't go to the football game because I had this fight and now my whole day is ruined. So I think it's really a practice in learning balance, because for sure you have to feel your feelings and that's really important, not to suppress them, but also like I gotta get I gotta leave my bed, I gotta leave my house, you know.
How do I get through this still?
yeah and some days are easier than others. Like yesterday I really did not get done everything that I wanted to get done because I was overwhelmed with sadness, and I cried for hours on end. But I woke up this morning knowing that that's how I went to bed, and I decided, you know what, I still feel that sadness. I was feeling grief over Chubbs dying. I still feel that sadness today, but we got shit to do today. I gotta take this to the playground. You know, if I need to cry a little bit this morning, that's okay. I gotta record this podcast with my best friend. Like, still moving forward with your life. It's weird to balance it, to be able to like feel your emotions so intensely, but also recognize that you move forward after you feel them and release them.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the way that the world is, we don't really have the space and ability to just not show up anymore. Like we have responsibilities as adults. And even if you are in a space where maybe you can't show up, to be able to communicate what that is like and advocate for yourself and like ask for time away is so hard still. And so just like, yeah, I'm feeling so terrible and I still need to continue. And like, maybe I could advocate for myself and like take a break. But at the end of the day, I still need to like eat, bathe, sleep, do some of these things. So like, what can I prioritize? What can maybe be put on a to-do list and I get back to if I'm not like peak performance, like I said. So I feel that as well. And just like the balance is really hard, and the grace is really important in that, because even when we're trying to balance all these crazy intense emotions with the fact that we still have to continue on and like talk to people in this day, regardless of what way, like how can I not be a terror to the people I encounter, because they have their own shit too.
I don't know why this made me think of it, but something else that I learned this summer that I think is so wild, and I'm going to get political for just a second, but you know, they did a study on women's menstrual cycles, and the pain that we feel during our period is equal to the pain that a man feels when he has a heart attack, and yet we are still expected to take care of our children, show up to work, exercise, be social. And I'm just like, this is some motherfucking shit, because I also have endometriosis, and I do believe I will be in a couple of weeks here diagnosed with PMDD. And if people actually understood what that meant for women's health, no one would expect me to show up to work when I'm going through that. And it's just like wild, which that really took us on a side path. I don't know why that made me think about it. You're
real
about like how we move through the world. And it's just, I learned that in the last few weeks, and I was just like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, maybe if we were actually given the space to process some of those feelings, we'd be more equipped now. But like, even when we were younger, it's like you get 5 misses for the year, I think, and then you get like detentions and stuff about it. And so even starting out young, like you kind of get punished for not showing up and are just expected to like carry on. So, it wasn't really ingrained in us to be able to take time or know what that looks like or feels like. Like, today I can be like, if I need to take off or take time for myself, like I can do that. But it's hard. Like, it's hard to be okay and comfortable with that and then talk about it.
I also think if you're a millennial, you're somewhere in between where you see this upcoming point of view where it's like there's more to life than just working, but you're so ingratiated in what your parents taught you, which is I need to work to earn everything that I want. And we're somewhere in between where I'm like, fuck this. Like, I really truly don't care about having a career. I care about being happy. But at the same time, I know I have to work because I need healthcare. I need money if I want to travel, all these things. And we are just in a weird, like, in between spot where we're like, we want to say fuck this, but we also know that we have to do the work to get the things. And it messes with your mind a little bit.
Yeah, dude, that made me think of, was it Venus Williams who had to like get back into tennis because she needed healthcare? And so even like a super, you think, rich and famous person is now, I think, begrudgingly sort of coming back to their career because they need to pay the bills. And that's just a really like relevant example that like, yeah, we're not really maybe meant to work 40 hours a week and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I don't know if humans were really designed for kind of where we've ended up. And it's okay as humans to maybe not be on board.
Yeah. I think that's also something that I've learned this summer, which is I really thought that I could be a person that just works my job for the amount of money that I need to live the lifestyle that I want and not really care about my job and then live my life afterwards. But I during my most recent meltdown, I recognize that that's truly not who I am. I'd like to not care, but I care a lot. And I am having to swallow a lot of pride because if I truly did a job that I wanted to do and that I was passionate about, I am not going to make nearly as much money as I make right now. And that means a whole lifestyle change. That means being okay with the fact that my husband pays for more than I do. And that I still am struggling with that, honestly. Like, I learned that little fact about myself, but I still have not quite come to terms with that. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, which is hard.
I was actually talking about this with a client recently, and I felt like maybe I was, is this solution focused? I basically was like, you have other things that you offer. Maybe you don't meet the same monetary criteria as your partner, but like my example was I bring all the plants to this house. I bring so much time and air purification and beauty. And so, little things like that, I think we take for granted sometimes. And it's like, sure, maybe we don't make the same amount, but I bring so many other things to this relationship, to this home space. Maybe I can't fix it up in the way that like I want to, but I can, do things that make everyone happier to be there. So I think that there's other ways that we can, like, I hate to say compensate because that doesn't feel like the right word for that, but
yeah, I do. I think that we are lucky in the sense of like we both have partners that are like, yeah, you do bring other things to this home, right? And they appreciate that for us. I think for me, I don't know if it's because of how I grew up or it's because of just like a social standard, or I brought this thought on myself, but for whatever reason, it is super uncomfortable for me to think like, and again, this is also my OCD, where it's like, I come from divorced parents. What if I end up divorced? I need to have my own money. Like it goes in that order, you know?
Mhm.
So it's a really hard pill to swallow, to think like, oh, Troy will pay for some of my life. Like I just don't love it. And I'm trying to learn how to give myself a little bit more grace and credit than that, because there's a lot of things, like you said, that would not exist in this house or in my family if I didn't do them. And they have nothing to do with money. So
Yeah, and it's such a hard thing to not think about when the next shoe will drop, or whatever that phrase is. Like, can we just continue on anyways with the thought that like we'll just stick together and I'll have, we'll live life together, and if and when, mostly if I need to plan to separate, like then I'll deal with that. I think that's such a hard thing to like swallow and like really be okay with, but like we have to live in the moment, and we can't be worried about what happens if we get a divorce. Easier said than done, but I do think like the practice becomes more of like yes, like we're still together, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, okay,
yeah.
like shit can still hit the fan, but I'm just going to continue with the track record that we have right now. So it is hard though. Yeah.
Keep on. What do you do to stay grounded or present? Because I've noticed, I really thought that I practiced mindfulness before, but I've noticed that with the new tools that I have, my mind is a lot quieter now. So what is your, I don't know, favorite, or like some of your go-tos for like bringing yourself back to the present? Because it's really easy to get caught up in what already happened and I should have done this, or what's going to happen, I have to get ready.
Yeah, that's a great question. You're so good at a podcast structure. Also, seeing you keep getting like, you keep shrinking and growing larger, and your camera is so weird. I feel so much like Alice in Wonderland. It's not from you moving forward though. It's like your head shrinks and it goes into the corner. It is wild. I swear. But you asked, what do I do to be more present and mindful? Yes. So many things. It's like it's so ingrained in me now to recognize when I need them and I go get them. Friends, just like hanging out with friends, a routine, having things built into my routine that I really enjoy, sitting outside with my cat in the mornings and just like looking at the bugs and watching them like take in the world. I've taken a break with volunteering because it's so hot out, and I do realize that volunteering brings me a lot of like time of being present, and there's a balance with that too. Like I don't need to do it every week. I need to take a break and just like not do it for a while so I can appreciate it. So I'm like going through that a little bit. But I do think that I utilize other creatures a lot to be present and mindful. There's just so much goodness to look at. I use nature a lot to just like stare at stuff, and just it's really easy for my brain to move to that and maybe not ruminate and be upset and like something to stay mad about. Like I was saying, I lost my physical ability quite a bit with my hand and stuff. So before, like yoga and climbing were huge. They were part of like social life for me and just movement, and I lost those things. And so I realized I leaned so hard into just sitting and looking at stuff and just like trying to breathe. Luckily it's built into my day a lot with like offering mindfulness to other people in a group setting where I offer therapy. So I'm grateful for that. But I wonder the same thing for you. Look, there you go. You get big and little. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Continue.
Yeah, my camera refocuses. It's wild. But so I think we're very similar in the sense of like, I definitely use my dogs or I would use Chubbs to kind of bring myself back to grounded. Something else that I do is like Eden energy work, where I just kind of work on my aura and cleanse it of, you know, everything that I've taken on during the day. Because we are energetic beings, just having a human experience, especially if you're an empath, like something really important to do at the end of your day, because it doesn't matter if someone talks to you or not, you pass someone in the grocery store, you immediately take on their energy, right? And I know that this is going to sound so weird, but like I think about when I was younger and the phrase like, you are everyone that you sleep with, or something like you, like something like that. It was something like that. And I was like, oh, I understand what that means now. Like that is such an intense like swap of energy because of, you know, the action that's being held. And I think back a lot to when I was younger and I'm like, God, I wish I really wouldn't have done some of the things I did, but I can't, you know, can't ruminate on that. Some of the things that I do to stay present, definitely activity, like yoga, Pilates, going walk. But I noticed that the hardest time for me to stay present is when I have nothing to do. And that's kind of when my brain starts to go of like, well, what if this happens? Well, what if you do this? Well, this is coming up, so you have to get ready. And something that I've really learned throughout my intensive class is I like notice that it's happening, and I'll just shrug my shoulders and I'll be like, yeah, maybe, like that could happen, you know? And I just kind of shrug my shoulders and direct myself back to like, I'm sitting in the grass right now, or I'm washing the dishes. You know, when I necessarily don't have like an event or an activity, I think is when it's hardest for me to be present, because there's nothing to take my attention and I get stuck in my head. So I kind of just have been shrugging my shoulders and noticing that I'm doing it, and try to not necessarily redirect myself so I don't think, but like, okay, I hear you. Anyways, you know, like, yeah. I hear my brain going, okay. And I just kind of like refocus. I forget what the term is called. You'll probably know better than I, because I know this is something that you utilize, but the five senses, like, what do I feel? What do I smell? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I taste? I really, really can't get out of my brain. That helps me like reground myself as well.
Yeah, you said it too, like to refocus, because our mind does wander, and so what brings us back to the present, to what we're doing, and that's an excellent grounding exercise. And you were talking about just like picking up other people's energy, and I think for an empathetic person, some aspect of being present is kind of just built into the way that we are. So someone may never notice that person that walked by them, and maybe they subconsciously picked up their energy, but there are people who look at someone and see them and feel accordingly. And so I think that there's an aspect of being present there, and so noticing that is important. And then also finding ways to get back to what we maybe came here to do. It's like to focus on our own grounding can be really hard.
Yeah. I think part of that too kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, where I don't know that I will ever fully grasp this concept. I think it's just something I will continue to learn and expand upon as I grow. But judging yourself is really hard. Like, you know, saying you're your own worst critic may sound cliche, but it's so true. Like, especially for me, I do not use kind language with myself. I would never speak to someone else the way that I talk to myself, and I'm really learning how to do better with that. And some days it's easier than others. I did just see my head shrink. Wow, that was weird. But you know, it's comparison is like the thief of joy. You know, like it's so hard with the society that we live in right now, to not be like, I need to be skinnier, I need to be prettier, I need to be tanner, I need to make more money, I need to travel more, I need to do this. And it's like, actually, you need to sit the fuck down and look around and be like, wow, my life is actually not that bad. Like that's what you need to do. There's always something to be grateful for, even if your lights get turned off, even if you didn't eat that day. Like there's always something that can bring you back, you know?
Yeah. That is a great opening to an invite on doing like a gratitude list. I just recently practiced this, and we spend a minute just like writing down a few things we're grateful for. And then we spend one more minute like expanding upon those things. So it's not like you're supposed to make the longest list that you possibly can. It's like a very much timed thing. Don't spend too much time on it, but then like diving into if I'm grateful for friendship, what aspects of friendship am I grateful for? I'm grateful for sharing food and space with certain people. I'm grateful for the way that this person makes me laugh, or that yesterday my cheeks hurt from smiling about the conversations that we had, like diving more into what aspects of that thing are you grateful for? I think that's a great practice. So if anyone wants to try something, and it can definitely bring a lot of like grounding and being present, maybe not present in that moment per se. I mean, you are deep into like the gratitude, but thinking about like places you love to go, or just like spaces you like to be in and things like that. So let us know if you do your own little gratitude list. Emphasis
On that note, I would say too, when you are really stripped bare of everything you thought you knew, when all of your belief systems crash, when everything that you have collected about yourself and believe yourself to be, when it all goes away or gets challenged, like it has been for me over the last couple of months, gratitude really starts to look different. Like I journal every morning, and one of the things I do is write down the things that I'm grateful for. And I used to write down things, not totally materialistic, but I used to write down things like, oh, I'm grateful that I get to go to this event, or can't wait to see blah, blah. And now I write down like, I'm really grateful I have a home. I'm really grateful that I have good friends. I'm really
my
grateful
gratitude dives even deeper into like, I think that bug is so beautiful, or I love the way that bird sounds when it flies by me. Like I really try to pick the things that are still going to be here whether or not I have money and friends and family, like those kinds of like really deeply present. Like I'm so grateful for the way that water moves as it moves along that blade of grass or something. So and it becomes more of a practice to notice.
For sure, just encourage people to like go deeper than like surface level, because I think also in our own way we forget that even when times are really hard, we really have access to so many beautiful things. There's people that don't have green grass in their yards. There's people that don't have clean drinking water. So look around and practice gratitude for sure, which I think is a great segue into our closing meditation for today. Liz, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. So I'm going to thank you all for listening to us and being present with us. Thank you for your time. And we love you as soul sisters of ours. And I'm going to offer today half smile and willing hands meditation. It helps us to take advantage of our mind-body connection and ultimately allows us to regulate our emotions in different ways. Half smile is often referred to as like the Mona Lisa smile. It includes us upturning our lips just a little bit. It's not like a big fake smile, right? It's not like an absurd cheese or anything like that. We're just moving the corners of our mouth upward ever so slightly when we are in this meditation. So soften and relax your body as you kind of zone out of our podcast and into your body. Relax your jaw and the rest of your body and put your mouth into a half smile. I can do this a little bit even while I'm talking. So you can probably half smile at any place, time, ability of yours. This one may be a little different. So if you're driving or doing something with your hands, you cannot use willing hands, but willing hands is to open up our body posture. Something as simple as uncrossing our arms or unclasping our hands can communicate to our brain that we're safe. We're in a safe place. Since an open posture is the opposite of a defensive stance, we are opening ourselves up to whatever thought crosses our mind with that half smile. We can take this a step further by flipping our palms open. So half smile, then the willing hands. So your hands are placed down maybe on your lap and the palms could be facing up. And just breathe. Find some gratitude as you smile about taking this time to listen and learn about others' experiences, learning about your own experiences. As we continue to breathe, maybe we find more relaxation. Maybe we feel a little uncomfortable in that half smile. And that's okay. Finding relaxation amongst the possible discomfort. Sometimes when I practice willing hands, my hands just like get so creaky and achy. So I will give myself a little massage in between willing hands. You don't have to sit like a stone during this time. You can give yourself any like little body massages you may need. And then once you've kind of completed that task or allowed your brain to go in that direction, you come back to this half smiling, willing, and open hands. You may notice a change in your posture. When I smile, it seems like my head wants to kind of automatically raise to the sky a little bit more. We offer up our thanks to whatever we're smiling about right now. Maybe it's the sky above you. Maybe your eyes are closed, but they're looking towards the tips of our heads, the sky, the earth, everything around us. This can be a really short practice. You can practice it anywhere, just taking a moment to stop, put your hands up towards the sky, even if they're down at your palms, and smile and breathe. Think about you as a whole. Who are you? And just smile. Just smile and breathe. Does it change the way you feel? Does it bring up some new feelings for you? When we're in moments of disbelief or discomfort, confusion, we can quickly come to this space and breathe into our smile. And though it may not change anything around you, it may change something inside of you. The only bits of this ever-changing, ever-moving life that we can control is our thoughts and feelings inside of us. As your mind maybe wanders, just come back to the breath. I can smile at my gratitude for my lungs for deeply inhaling. I can smile at my ability to hear my exhale. Try to breathe loving kindness to yourself. To not pick at different pieces, to not pick at different feelings we have that come up through the day, but to just provide that deep, loving kindness to yourself. And when you're ready, come back to this space. Notice how you feel in your body. Thanks for being here. See you next time.